Hi everyone, my name is Matt Flynn. I'm a solutions engineer here at TrustZone, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to automate your SSL certificates with our ACME Pro solution. Particularly, we're going to be focusing on how to deploy these certificates and automate them in a Windows environment with Microsoft IIS. As you can see here, I'm sharing my screen, and what we're looking at is a test VM that I've set up. We're looking at a Windows Server 2019 running IIS 10. And we have a very simple little test website set up here. If I take a look at the bindings associated with this site, I can see I have two bindings, two URLs, but they're both on port 80. So I have no SSL certificate currently associated with this site. And just to take a look at what this site might look like, let's pay a little visit to see its current state. So I'm expecting when this attempts to load, yes, we're going to receive a warning message saying that it doesn't support a secure connection and that we should probably go back as there's no certificate associated with the site. So instead, what we want to do here today is procure a proper certificate with it and set it up for full automation with our ACME service. To do that, I'm going to sign into the TrustZone portal here. And we have a new section called ACME Pro where you can handle all of your automated certificates from. And from here, there's a few different pages. We can get an overview of the domains that we're managing. We can kick off pre-validations for some of these domains. We can also remove previously validated ones if we'd like to do that. We have some quick access to some of our ACME clients down here, which you can set up, as well as getting a full inventory and setting up monitoring for existing certificates that we've already issued. Here you get an overview of our licenses and credentials that you use to actually order the ACME certificates. Today, though, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to use our quick start guide just to talk us through the easy setup process. So let's continue. Here are a few prerequisites that you're going to need to set up any automated certificate. One, you'll want some access to the actual endpoint or server that you wish to install the certificate on. Depending on how that server may be configured, you might require some elevated permissions to run these ACME clients and run these certificate jobs. And then we'll also need a valid license. So let's continue with that. Here we've been asked to choose our preferred operating system. We have obviously client support on Linux and Windows, which is where we're deploying today. And then our preferred web server, we're deploying on a Microsoft IIS server. Great. And then we have everything we need to actually order our certificate. I have my credentials that we're going to provide directly to our ACME client when we need to authenticate for a certificate order. I also have a few reference guides here that link to our knowledge base, where there's great step-by-step guides. There's screenshots for every step that you're doing that'll talk you through the setup process, depending on which method of domain validation you'd prefer to use when you're ordering these certificates. You can always write to us at support@trustzone.com if you have any questions or need any help getting these set up as well. That's obviously part of the service here. So I'm just going to download our pre-configured client. This client here is called Simple ACME. It's our recommended ACME client when deploying in Windows. It's a recent fork of an older project called WinACME, so you might be familiar with that if you've heard of that before. This is something we've collaborated actually with the lead developer on in the past. He's been able to help us bring support to a pre-validation service and other domain validation options that are exclusive to the TrustZone ACME Pro service. So that's why we generally recommend Simple ACME. However, our ACME service is generally compatible with any ACME client that you can use and you can configure yourself. You can get this ACME client directly from the project page, the GitHub, or you can also use a pre-configured version that's available directly in the TrustZone portal. This pre-configured version also comes with a few useful scripts and plugins that might be useful if you're deploying to other Windows devices in your network, such as Active Directory file server, remote desktop gateways, Exchange servers, things like that. A few nice quality of life enhancements get bundled in here. This ACME client, it's essentially a portable application I don't need to install anything. It doesn't make any changes to the registry. Also, if I wanted to, I could invoke it via the command line. So if you needed to bundle to distribute this on a range of different servers, you could essentially use a PowerShell script to deploy it across your network and to different devices in your environment. Today, though, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to keep things a bit simple, as this client has quite a nice little menu interface that talks us through the setup of ordering these certificates. So we can see here that the client's connected to our CA partners, that's powered by GlobalSign. And we're given two options, the default or the full options. If I was in a scenario where I needed to order a wildcard certificate, or I wished to perform a specific type of domain validation, or maybe kick off a script afterwards, then I can go to the full options, and there's nearly 20 different steps that I can configure exactly the way I wish. Today for this demo, we're going to keep things a bit simple, and we're just going to use the default settings. So let's continue. Now, Simple ACME client's taking a scan, and you can see that there's one site currently on our East server. If there was multiple sites, I could select which ones I wanted to use, or I could select them all as well, which is what I'll do here. The client is seen on this site. There's two bindings. It's asking us what information are we ordering for the certificate. What are the domain names on the certificate? I'm just going to tell it to use the bindings that are already on this site, and we'll continue. As there's two bindings, it's asking us to clarify which one should be the common name and which one should be the subject alternate name, the same. In this case, I'd like my matdemo.tztest.deco to be my common name, codesigning.deco to be the alternate name. It's asking, should we continue with this selection? Yes, please. So here we're reaching out to our partners at GlobalSign. We're reaching out to their CA server, and we can see that they've responded, and they're asking if we'd like to open a PDF copy of this GlobalSign subscriber agreement. You can do that quite easily here. It'll open a separate tab in our web browser, and you can review the agreement and make sure that it's everything that you wish to agree to. But then if we'd like to continue with the certificate ordering process, we will need to say yes to these terms. And then finally, we're being asked to authenticate with our account. So we're going to provide it two different pieces of information. The first here is the key identifier, which I'm going to take here from the TrustZone customer portal. And I'll just put that into the client. Then the second one here, it's the client calls it a base 64 key. Another term that's quite often used in the PKI industry is an ACME MAC, which is what we refer to it here as the ACME MAC. This key is a little bit different. It's not static like the key identifier. It does change. So every 30 days, you'll get a new ACME MAC or base 64 key. However, you only need to use it when you're doing this initial one-time setup on an ACME client. After that, it creates this endpoint authenticates with the CA server and creates a key pairing. So I don't need to re-authenticate for any renewals or additional orders in the future. It's only if I'm setting up on an entirely separate server, a new endpoint, that I need to perform this first-time authentication. So when I submit this request here, our certificate order will kick off quite quickly. The private key has been generated. The certificate signing request has been sent to the CA. In this case, I believe I've already ordered certificates for these domains before, so they're considered pre-validated by our CA, in which case we tend to skip the domain validation step. If I was ordering new domains, then the client might go through a certain domain validation process. By default, this could be a HTTP validation process, or it could be a DNS-based challenge. There'll be more information on doing different kinds of DNS-based challenges in another video, and you can also consult our knowledge base. We have a lot of different articles explaining how to do that and set those up. But in the meantime, we can see that this certificate has been issued. It's also been downloaded and installed in the Windows Certificate Store, and the binding on our IIS server has been updated. So if we refresh this view here, we can see we have two new bindings on 443, and we can see we have a certificate from GlobalSign. Now, if I try to actually visit my test site again, let's see if it's a bit more successful this time. And this loads first time without an issue, and we can see that the certificate, yes, it was issued just a few minutes ago. Um, as that is the case. And then we also have the validity. So yeah, currently 200-day certificates. The certificate will expire next January. Come March 2027, we'll be seeing a further reduction where we go down to 100-day certificates. So it is good to start this automation journey sooner rather than later. You'll appreciate investing in the time to set these up now, before racing to set them up when we have shorter duration certificates. Most important thing, obviously, is that this ACME client has also set up a renewal task. You can specify the renewal window in the settings file for this client. Um, the renewals, if you'd like, they could take place every week or they could take place every 100 days, whichever cadence you have. You can also set a minimum renewal window threshold, which would maybe look at a minimum length that a certificate can be left in its validity and make sure that it renews before that. By default, any ACME clients that we provide in our Trust Zone portal will have that minimum validity window, and they'll renew certificates if it's got less than a week of validity left. In this case, we can see that this renewal is due to take place on the 23rd of August, which is a little under 2 months from now. Clients like Simple ACME use Task Scheduler in Windows to manage that. So we can take a look here and make sure that the task scheduler is correctly configured. We can see there's a Simple ACME task, and this runs every day just to make sure, is there a renewal due? If not, it'll do nothing, and if so, it runs the renewal as requested. I can also edit these renewals and change many other things in the configuration of our ACME client. I can also configure them to export my certificates into different formats, such as a PFX or a PEM file. And you can have these certificates, these automated certificates, to behave exactly like manual certificates then. They're fully portable when you export them, and you can manage them as you see fit. I also have options to run the renewals early if I want, or if I needed to change any other details regarding the certificate, adding an extra domain name perhaps, or changing the validation mode. All of that is completely configurable from this settings menu. If you have any other questions or you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me or my colleagues at TrustZone. You can reach out to us at support@trustzone.com, or get in touch with your account rep, and they'll be sure to help out. In the meantime, please feel free to check our knowledge base. It's available on our site on trustzone.com. There's a lot of useful articles there that explain how to get up and running with different ACME clients if you're deploying on Linux or elsewhere, and different modes of domain validation. Thank you for your time today, and look forward to speaking with you soon.